You could call this morning's guest Your Honor, Colonel, Professor, Chief Judge, philanthropist, entrepreneur, so many others. I'm just going to call him Dad. Meet Robinson Everett, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at East of Chicago Pizza at 40th Avenue North and Kings Highway here in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the life of Robinson Everett, and we're visiting with the man himself. Good morning, Dad. Great to have you in this morning.
Well, I tell you, it's fun to be interviewed by my son, and also to be at such a nice place as East of Chicago.
This place is amazing, isn't it? To think, and of course, your only granddaughter for 4.5 years, now one of two granddaughters, had her 4th birthday party here back last September, which was very, very exciting.
I wasn't here, but I bet she had a ball.
I know. She had a ball. That's right. There are a lot of skee balls behind us and balls throughout. This place is amazing. They're open for lunch, I think, from 4 to 9 most days of the week, and even later on the weekends.
Well, I guess for lunch today.
Yeah, absolutely. If you'll stay around another 5 hours, you will. You
Okay.
will. How exciting, Dad, the opportunity to get you in and, of course, to focus on your life. We laid it out in the Myrtle Beach Herald over a 3-day period. I hope you're willing to come back with us tomorrow and possibly even the next day.
I shall return.
A little bit on the law, a little bit on, of course, your tenure as a judge for many years, and then, of course, teaching the law, which is probably pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Very good. When did you actually get your law license?
1950.
1950.
Ancient history.
Golly, Dad. Yeah, that is a heck of a long time. And was that something you thought about earlier on in life, that you wanted to be a lawyer, or you thought of something else?
I sort of fell into it. My mother and dad were both lawyers, and so I knew I could get a job with them, but I never really thought about it until I was in my last year at college, and this was up at Harvard. A friend of mine said, "Have you ever been to the Harvard Law School?" I said, "No, never have." He said, "Well, I'm going over there. Would you like to walk over with me?" So we walk on over from our dormitory over to the Harvard Law School, and along the way I say, "Well, Ted, why are you going over to the law school?" He said, "Well, I'm going to apply for admission." And we chatted, and he said, "What are you going to do when you finish college?" I said, "I don't really have anything to do. I don't know what I'm going to do." He said, "Well, maybe you should apply for law school," or words to that effect. And so I thought, well, why not? I got over there, got an application form, as I recall. In any event, I went ahead and applied, got admitted, and there I was in law school. And having started, I thought, okay, 3 years later, I finished, and then I come back to North Carolina and take the bar.
Right.
It was sort of, I'm a Presbyterian, and I believe a lot in premeditation. Predestination.
Predestination, that's right.
I think this was predestination. Not premeditation.
Not premeditation, but predestination. You think about, do you have a vivid memory of that, Dad? I've heard you tell that story before. I mean, can you actually picture Ted and being there in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and see that? I always wonder, when we think back 60 years, if you have memories. Do you have distinct memories of being at Harvard for college and then later for law school?
Well, this I remember pretty vividly, as we walk over there.
Right.
I can't really be sure exactly.
Sure. Oh, no, I understand. How about what, no one ever asked you, there's so many things folks could talk to you about there when they get into a conversation with you, and since we've got a little time the next few days, what are some of your vivid memories from your 6+ years spent there in Cambridge, Massachusetts, between ages 16 and 22? Do you have any real vivid memories? I know I've read about a time where you and another guy challenged a real famous football coach in an eating competition or something. Share with viewers a little bit about that experience, and maybe jog some recollections for some of the viewers in the area.
Well, I had some funny experiences. I remember I had a Cuban roommate, and he and I went out to the Harvard-Yale football game, in New Haven.
Right.
And I remember after the game, we were going to be taking the train back up to to Boston.
Right.
And we apparently got diverted some way, so we get back into the train station, and the train had already left. Huh. And it was an ice-cold day. It wasn't a happy day because Harvard had lost the game pretty badly, so we weren't in a cheerful mood. It was freezing, and we decided that apparently there was no place to stay and no transportation, so we decided to hitchhike.
No, from New Haven, Connecticut back to Boston.
Yeah, that was the idea. It was a very dumb idea.
Right.
So my Cuban roommate and I are standing there. We had a blanket. We're both huddled under the blanket. We get a ride part of the way, then we get a ride to another distance. I think we reached Westerly, Rhode Island about midnight. And we've been in the back of a truck. They dumped us out. And we're standing there, freezing. And I mean freezing.
Yeah.
And so
this is in the mid-40s.
This is
mid to late 40s.
This would have been about 1946, I guess, somewhere along there.
Yeah.
45, 46. So we're standing there, and finally a police car comes up, and we say, is there any motel that is available? Any place we can go to sleep, because we're going to freeze.
Yeah.
And the policeman says, well, I don't know of anything. Everything's closed. Said, the only thing I know of is we got room in the jail. If you want to go to...
No.
And he said, the only trouble is if you go there, we have to lock you in.
Oh, no.
So we go. That's a lot better than freezing. I was in one cell with a guy who was totally drunk. He was intoxicated. And I don't remember where my Cuban roommate, Pepe, was. Anyway, we made it through the night, and they let us out. Fortunately, that was my only experience in jail, and I did not get a police record.
That didn't show up on your record, yeah.
We got home safely. That's one of the things I remember. The other thing you may be speaking of is an event. This was when I was in law school.
Right.
And there was a football game coming up. I think it was Harvard-Yale again. It was going to be played in Cambridge. And Yale had a coach who at one time had been at NC State. In any event, he was, I can't think of his name. But
I can't think of his name either, but I've seen this story before in the Herald Sun, the Durham Herald Sun. I think I saw a piece on that.
Yeah, this guy was really big, and the article about him said he could eat more than any two men alive. And my roommate at the time said, let's challenge him to eat. It'd be sort of fun to do that.
Right.
Let's challenge him on the night before the Harvard-Yale game to have an eating contest to see who could eat more. We'll try to get some elaborate restaurant in Boston, somewhere.
Boston.
And so we went over, and as I recall, we were videotaped doing this challenge. I don't remember the details, but the Harvard Crimson, the student newspaper, recited how these two law students were challenging the Yale coach to an eating contest. And I remember that very vividly, because we got a lot of press.
Oh, yeah. The AP picked it up and carried it all over the country.
And I remember the Durham paper was asking my mother what I ate, and my father was not happy. He said, I didn't pay to send you up to law school to engage in this sort of stuff. But anyway, that was another memory of my days there at Harvard. So I had a lot of fun. Fortunately, wound up doing okay at
both
Harvard.
undergrad and law school.
I think I was magna cum laude both, so I did a little bit of study.
I think you must have. I think I remember not only your freshman year were you the Wendell Scholar, or the number one in your class, but then fourth out of four.
I don't know if I was number one, but I got the scholarship.
Got that recognition, that honor. That's good. I'm glad you cleared that up. Again, we hear these stories, and of course I did see the official transcript that you were fourth out of a class of 445 there in law school, which was very impressive, and of course something that is not lore, but is whether you were first in your class there as an undergraduate. The exciting thing for a lot of folks, and probably of great interest, was that we've read that you had skipped a few grades in your early years, 3rd, 8th, and 11th maybe, and that you had gone off to prep school prior to attending Harvard. Is that right?
Actually, what happened, I went through Durham High School.
Durham High School.
I did skip a grade in high school, a grade in junior high. I started school when I was 5 and a half. The result was that I got out of Durham High when I just turned 15. And I did okay there. I was salutatorian, number 2 in the class.
Right.
So my parents said, "You're too young to go to college, and we're going to send you somewhere." They picked out a prep school up in New Hampshire,
Right.
Phillips Exeter. Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
a great place, Phillips Exeter Academy. So I went up there for a year, and they let me graduate up there as well. They treated me just as if I'd been there several years.
Is that right? Great.
So I remember the class at Durham High School. I remember the class in 1943 when I graduated. Had it not been for skipping grades, I would have graduated in the class of 45. So they invite me to their monthly luncheons and other events.
Right.
So I have that benefit. And then in between, I can go to the reunions of the class of 44 at Phillips Exeter.
You are kidding. 43, 44, and 45.
I get to go to a lot of reunions.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, I love it.
That is amazing. And then I think you pointed out you started at Chapel Hill, and the old story your mother, even your father, had shared is that you began pledging a fraternity.
Oh, I did. I was an ATO there, Alpha Tau Omega. I became a brother as an ATO. I started there just a few days after I finished at Exeter.
Right.
And was there for a few months. And then my parents said, "You're having too good a time. You're too close to home." And it was then that they had me look into going elsewhere. And Phillips Exeter was sort of a feeder school for Harvard. So I was able to get in Harvard, and that's why I wound up there spending 6 years as it developed.
Amazing.
I didn't get a New England accent, though.
No, you don't have it, at least not here at East of Chicago. And as you pointed out early this morning, we are East of Chicago.
That's right.
We are East of Chicago. This is a great place. I'm glad you shared that, both those experiences of taking on the football coach. Did he ever show up to compete against you and your roommate?
No.
He did not.
He was not that happy about the idea of being
challenged by 2 Harvard law students.
And the idea of being able to eat more than any 2 men alive, that was not appealing to him.
He had said that, though, or he had people. Newspapers had claimed that he could eat more than any 2 men.
I'm not sure that was a claim on his part. He was apparently a heavy eater, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
And my friend and I were both, I won't say we were chow hounds, but we ate a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember my mother being asked by the Durham Herald about what I ate, and she explained that barbecue and lemon pie and sweet tea were my favorites.
No, Dad, that is hilarious. And you'd get a lot of that in Durham. I guess, I don't know if Bullock's Barbecue was around.
Yes.
Was it when you were growing up?
It started around 1952 or 3.
Okay, sure.
It was not there until a little bit later, but pretty early on.
Absolutely. A popular mainstay, which happens to be on the same street that you and Mom have lived on for 40 years.